Welcome. You've arrived at a quiet corner of the world, a place designed not to stir, but to soothe. To slow the breath, quiet the mind, and invite sleep with the soft unfolding of the past. This is Historical Nights, and tonight, under a sky draped with stars that once shone over forgotten empires, we travel, slowly, softly, into a world both distant and strangely familiar. Imagine yourself now, reclining gently upon the deck of a low, wooden vessel. The waters around you are calm. The Bosporus stretches out like a wide, glistening ribbon between two continents. One side is Europe, craggy and olive-dotted. The other, Asia, sloping and sun-warmed. Between them, resting on a triangle of land that juts out toward the sea, lies a city of rooftops, domes, and rising incense. Constantinople. It is not yet dawn. The stars still cling faintly to the sky, but there is a softness in the light, like a candle behind linen. Seabirds stir in the distance. The oars dip gently into the water, making a rhythmic sound, steady, even, like a lullaby for the senses. You are approaching the heart of an empire. Not one newly forged, nor one yet fallen, but something in between, mature, layered, and worn smooth like marble steps walked upon for centuries. This is Byzantium. Though the name may evoke echoes of distant lecture halls or the brittle pages of dusty books, here, it becomes something different. Alive. Enduring. Familiar. Not because we remember it with clarity, but because, in many ways, we still live in its shadow. The Byzantine Empire was not merely a leftover of Rome. It was a transformation, a metamorphosis of old power into something new and luminous. Roman bones clad in Greek robes. Christian hearts burning where pagan altars once stood. It was a world of contradictions, and of beautiful complexity. Tonight, you won't need to remember dates or memorize dynasties. There is no quiz waiting at the end. You are simply invited to drift through time, to listen as history unfolds, not in shouts or trumpets, but in whispers, in the steady hum of markets, the creak of ships, the rustle of silk in palace halls. Our path will unfold gently, like an old map unfurled on a scholar's table. First, we will wander the cobbled alleys and candlelit homes of everyday Constantinople, where bakers and scribes, children and monks, lived by the rhythm of bells and seasons. You'll hear their footsteps, smell their bread, and witness the city as they once knew it, not through myth, but through the quiet dignity of their routines. From there, we'll follow the life of a single man, an emperor. Not a warrior with a sword, but a thinker, a reformer, and a dreamer who dared to build domes that defied the sky and laws that outlasted centuries. His name was Justinian, and his reign would shape not only his empire but the laws, beliefs, and boundaries of our world today. We'll then peer into the deeper layers of Byzantine culture. Its quiet mysteries and its sacred spaces, its forgotten manuscripts and half-buried mosaics. Beneath centuries of dust and silence, Byzantium still speaks, if you listen closely. And finally, we will rise to the marble balconies and golden halls of the elite. To the intrigues whispered behind silk screens. The contrasts between emperor and beggar, between charioteer and bishop. We'll watch as the empire, like a candle burning too long, begins to waver, flickering softly before it fades into history. This is not a tale of battles and bloodshed, though shadows do pass across its light. This is a lullaby made of stone and scripture. A story you may listen to wide awake, or drift gently through, letting the rhythm of voices and the rustling of time carry you toward rest. So let your shoulders relax. Allow your thoughts to untangle. There is nothing here that demands urgency. Only a slow unfolding, like the bloom of dawn over the Sea of Marmara. Tonight, you are in good company, with saints and scholars, merchants and emperors. And as the modern world falls away, you are invited to begin again, in a city where past and present have always met. Constantinople. Byzantium. The new Rome. Now, with the sea behind us and the domes ahead, let us walk the streets of the city together, softly, slowly, beginning with the quiet rhythm of everyday life. Imagine yourself waking slowly in the heart of Constantinople, the great capital city of the Byzantine Empire. It is early morning, just as the sky begins to soften from deep navy into shades of lavender and pale rose. The city breathes quietly beneath the slow light. A gentle breeze drifts off the Sea of Marmara, carrying the faint scent of salt and olive trees. Cobblestone streets glisten faintly with overnight dew, cool beneath your sandals. You stand at the edge of a bustling neighborhood, not the imperial palace or the grand forum, but the streets where ordinary people live and work. Here, life flows at its own measured pace, shaped by the rhythms of sun and season, prayer and trade. Ahead, you see a small cluster of homes with thick stone walls and tiled roofs, some covered in creeping vines, others decorated with simple frescoes. The scent of wood smoke mingles with the earthy smell of damp clay and fresh bread. A woman steps outside her door, a clay jar balanced carefully on her hip. Her feet are bare, and the soft sound of sandals shuffling on stone echoes through the narrow street. Nearby, a baker's shop opens its doors. The warm aroma of baking bread rolls out like a soft invitation. You might imagine the flour dusting the air, the warmth rising from the ovens, the slow turning of dough in skilled hands. Not far off, the clinking of a blacksmith's hammer rings rhythmically, steady, calm, like a heartbeat. Sparks leap softly from the glowing iron, but they don't startle you. Instead, they add a flicker of warmth to the early morning light. The city's market begins to stir with life, but it is still a gentle awakening, not a loud rush. Vendors arrange their goods carefully on cloth-covered tables. You can almost smell the mingling scents of fresh fish, ripe figs, herbs, and the smoky tang of cured meats. There are jars of honey, baskets of olives, and pots of fragrant spices. A fishmonger calls quietly to a passerby, his voice low and even, inviting without urgency. The market is a place of connection, where neighbors exchange news as much as goods. Nearby, a pair of children chase one another along the walls, their laughter soft and light, like wind chimes. A cool marble fountain stands at the center of the neighborhood, its water flowing steadily from carved lions' heads into a basin. The gentle splash of water is a constant companion to daily life here. Women gather at the fountain, filling their jugs and exchanging quiet conversation. You might imagine the sound of water slipping over stone, the cool touch of water on hands, the soft murmur of shared stories. The well is a place of community, an intersection of lives, where the mundane act of drawing water becomes a moment of human connection. Step now into one of these homes, a modest but sturdy dwelling of stone and wood. The air inside is thick with the faint scent of olive oil lamps and drying herbs hung from rafters. The floor is cool underfoot, made of smooth stone or packed earth. A low wooden table stands near a woven rug, worn but clean. In one corner, a woman works quietly at her loom, her fingers moving slowly and steadily, weaving threads of dyed wool into cloth. The soft scratch of the shuttle passing through the warped threads creates a gentle rhythm. A child sits nearby, playing with simple wooden toys carved by a local craftsman. The quiet creak of wood accompanies the soft laughter. The hearth glows faintly with embers from the night's fire, ready to be kindled again for the day's cooking. The smell of herbs and dried fruit lingers, mingled with the faint trace of smoke. Outside, artisans begin their work with deliberate care. The potter spins his wheel, the clay moist beneath his fingertips, slowly shaped into bowls and jars that will hold water, oil, and wine. The faint thump of the wheel turning is steady and soothing. Nearby, a cobbler pulls leather over his bench, stitching with quiet focus, the soft scrape of needle and thread punctuating the morning air. A carpenter measures and cuts wood for furniture, the sharp scent of freshly hewn timber blending with the surrounding air. Everything moves in cycles, the pulse of a world shaped by the sun's arc, by seasons, by prayers said at dawn and dusk. Listen closely. Hear the distant toll of church bells, marking the first prayers of the day. The bells are deep and clear, echoing through the stone streets like a call to calm. The laughter of children mingles with the low murmur of voices, some in Greek, others in Latin, perhaps even Syriac or Armenian. The city is a tapestry of tongues, woven together by trade, conquest, and centuries of migration. The flutter of pigeons lifts from rooftop to rooftop, their wings a soft whisper overhead. The soft scrape of a cart's wheels on stone, the clatter of hooves from a passing mule. A dog's gentle bark in the distance. All of these sounds combine into a gentle symphony, a reminder that this was a living city, filled with the ordinary details of life. As the sun climbs higher, the light softens the sharp edges of stone and tile. Shadows shift slowly along walls and columns. The scent of midday food cooking drifts from open windows, stews simmering with herbs, fresh fish roasted over coals, honey-sweetened cakes cooling on woven trays. The city moves at a steady, unhurried pace. Business is conducted with care. Greetings are exchanged with warmth. A craftsman might pause briefly to wipe his brow or share a joke. A merchant counts coins slowly, eyes flickering between buyer and ledger. And all the while, the great walls of the city stand silently, watching over it all. Weathered, strong, and unyielding. When evening comes, the city softens once more. The golden light fades to dusky blues and purples. Oil lamps flicker on in doorways and windows. Families gather in their homes. The smell of herbs and roasting meats fills the air. Perhaps the sound of a lyre or flute drifts from a nearby courtyard. Music is gentle here, meant not for spectacle but for company and comfort. The streets grow quieter. Footsteps are softer. A child is tucked into a woolen blanket, the steady murmur of a parent's voice telling tales of saints and heroes. The night settles gently over Constantinople, wrapping the city in a soft cloak of silence and dreams. In this segment, we've not rushed past the moments that make up everyday life in Byzantium. We've lingered in small spaces, at fountains, markets, workshops, and homes. These moments are the pulse of history. The rhythm of lives lived in care and continuity. The quiet dance of light and shadow across centuries. Imagine yourself now, resting in one of those stone homes, the soft glow of lamplight flickering on walls. You are part of this long, slow story. You carry its echoes with you, as you drift into the next part of our journey. Imagine yourself transported from the quiet streets of everyday Constantinople to the grand marble halls of the imperial palace, where the air is thick with the scent of incense and the faint gleam of gold flickers in torchlight. Here begins the story of one of Byzantium's most fascinating, and enduring, figures, Emperor Justinian I, who ruled from 527 to 565 CE, alongside his remarkable wife, Empress Theodora. Imagine a young man born not in Constantinople, but in a small village in the Balkans, surrounded by forests and mountain streams. His family was humble, his uncle was a successful general, and through that connection, the young Justinian made his way to the capital. He was neither born to power nor privilege, yet he carried with him an ambition as steady and persistent as the flowing Bosporus. His mind was sharp, his will unyielding. As he grew, he entered the imperial court, learning the delicate arts of governance and diplomacy, watching as the great city shifted around him, its courts, its clergy, its ever-turning wheels of power. Imagine the rhythm of his days, early mornings spent in study, afternoons in councils where voices rose and fell in debates, evenings in quiet reflection or prayer. The scent of parchment, the soft scratching of quills, the low murmur of advisors all formed a steady backdrop. Eventually, after years of preparation, Justinian ascended to the throne, crowned emperor in a ceremony suffused with ritual and grandeur. His purple robes gleamed beneath the light of hundreds of oil lamps. The city's great Hagia Sophia, the Church of Holy Wisdom, awaited his ambitions. No tale of Justinian is complete without the story of Theodora, his wife and empress. Imagine her, once an actress of humble origins, known for her wit and charm, she rose through the ranks of Byzantine society with a courage that matched Justinian's own. She was clever, resolute, and unafraid to speak her mind, even in the midst of court intrigue. The palace halls often whispered about their partnership, not merely as a marriage, but as a meeting of minds and wills. Theodora was a trusted advisor, influencing laws, championing the rights of women, and standing steadfast beside her husband through moments of crisis. Picture her presence, elegant but strong, her silk gowns trailing softly behind her, her eyes steady and knowing. In the cool, torchlit corridors of the palace, her voice was calm but firm, a source of counsel and strength. Justinian's reign was marked by grand ambition. He sought to restore the Roman Empire to its former glory, to reunite lands long lost to invaders, and to codify laws that would bring order and justice across the empire. Imagine the laborious task of compiling centuries of legal codes into what would become the Corpus Juris Civilis, or Justinian's Code. This monumental work gathered and refined Roman law, shaping not only Byzantium but influencing legal systems for centuries to come. Meanwhile, the city itself was transformed. Under Justinian's watchful eye, the Hagia Sophia was rebuilt after a devastating fire, rising anew as a masterpiece of architecture, its soaring dome seemingly suspended between heaven and earth. Imagine standing beneath that dome, the light filtering through stained glass windows, casting colors like gentle waves across marble floors. The scent of incense and beeswax fills the vast space. The quiet prayers of monks and congregants blend with the distant echo of chanting. But not all was serene in Justinian's reign. Imagine the city gripped by fear as a terrible plague swept through its crowded streets, a slow-moving shadow that left many families bereft. The quiet deaths, the hushed prayers, the empty homes all told of lives disrupted and lost. The city's hum dimmed, its rhythms fractured. Then, imagine the tension building in the Grand Hippodrome, the vast arena where chariot races were held and public sentiment voiced. In 532 CE, frustration erupted into the Nika riots, a violent outburst that shook the city's foundations. Yet, even in this turmoil, Justinian and Theodora stood firm. Theodora's courage shone. Legend tells how she persuaded the emperor not to flee, reminding him of his duty. Imagine the palace ablaze, the streets filled with unrest. And yet behind closed doors, quiet resolve. Eventually, order was restored, but at a great cost, many lives lost, and much of the city scarred. Despite the grandeur and turmoil, imagine Justinian and Theodora's quieter moments, walking together in palace gardens fragrant with jasmine and rose, discussing theology and governance, sharing confidences. These moments remind us that history is not only made in battles and laws but also in small human acts, the soft touch of a hand, the careful crafting of a policy to help widows and orphans, the silent prayers for peace. Theodora's influence brought reforms improving women's rights and protections. She was remembered not only as an empress but as a champion of the vulnerable. When Justinian died in 565, the empire he shaped remained strong, yet his dream of restoring the Roman world was only partially fulfilled. His legacy is a tapestry of light and shadow, great achievement mingled with human struggle. Imagine now the echoes of his reign lingering in the marble halls and mosaic floors of Constantinople. His story is a reminder that history is not simply the tale of kings and queens but the unfolding of ideas, hopes, and resilience. We leave the palace now, stepping back into the quieter streets of the city. The rhythm of daily life resumes, soft, steady, eternal. Imagine yourself stepping away from the grand palaces and bustling streets of Constantinople, venturing instead into the quieter, shadowed corners of the Byzantine world. Here lie secrets, mysteries, and echoes of a culture both deeply spiritual and richly complex, waiting patiently beneath layers of stone and time. Picture a calm morning on an archaeological dig just outside the city walls. The air is crisp, filled with the faint scent of earth and old stone warmed by the sun. Archaeologists carefully brush away dust from a mosaic floor, revealing tesserae of vibrant blues, golds, and reds arranged in intricate patterns of vines and mythical creatures. Each tile is a tiny piece of a larger story, a story of artistry, devotion, and the hands that created them centuries ago. Nearby, a clay jar is uncovered, its surface decorated with delicate geometric shapes. Imagine the potter's fingers shaping this vessel, the soft clink of it being placed beside other treasures, a reminder of everyday life now long past. As you walk among the ruins, the silence is punctuated by the soft crunch of gravel underfoot, the gentle tapping of a trowel against stone, the careful murmurs of discovery. Every artifact, every fragment of wall or tile, offers a whisper from the past, stories that can be pieced together to reveal the lives, beliefs, and customs of the Byzantine people. The Byzantine Empire was more than just its walls and emperors, it was a world steeped in symbolism and deep spirituality. Imagine yourself entering a quiet chapel within the city, a place where light filters softly through stained glass, casting hues of amethyst and emerald onto walls decorated with gleaming mosaics of saints and angels. The scent of frankincense drifts lazily in the air, mingling with the faint musk of aged wood and flickering beeswax candles. Icons, painted panels of holy figures, adorn every surface, their gold leaf shimmering gently in the light. These icons were not mere decoration but a sacred presence. Imagine the slow, reverent touch of a worshipper tracing the carved frame, the soft chant rising and falling like a lullaby, enveloping the space in calm. Every gesture, every color, every detail held meaning, meant to draw the soul closer to the divine. The spiritual life of Byzantium was layered and complex. Alongside the formal rituals of the Orthodox Church were traditions whispered in shadowed corners. Imagine a small, dimly lit room where an apothecary carefully mixes herbs and resins, creating remedies that blend medicine with mysticism. The soft crackle of burning sage mingles with the faint rustle of papyrus scrolls, filled with prayers and protective charms. Byzantine beliefs included a deep respect for the unseen, a world of angels and demons, saints and spirits. People sought protection from illness and misfortune through both prayer and amulets, blending faith with ancient customs. Yet, the Church maintained a careful balance, embracing sacred mysteries while warning against superstition. Architecture in Byzantium was an art of light and space, crafted to inspire awe and contemplation. Imagine standing within the great Hagia Sophia once more, the vast dome soaring overhead, supported by graceful arches and columns of marble. The gentle play of light and shadow across mosaics creates a sense of movement, a dance of gold and color that seems to breathe. Outside, the city's many churches and monasteries rise quietly among homes and shops, their domes and bell towers punctuating the skyline. Monastic communities lived lives of prayer and labor, tending gardens fragrant with herbs, copying manuscripts by candlelight, their days measured by the rhythm of prayer. Imagine yourself seated in a scriptorium, the air cool and still except for the soft scratch of a quill on parchment. Monks and scribes labor patiently, copying texts in elegant Greek script, their hands steady and sure. Illuminated manuscripts glimmer with gold leaf and vibrant pigments, images of biblical scenes, saints, and intricate floral designs. This slow, deliberate work preserved the knowledge of antiquity and faith alike. The libraries of Constantinople were treasure troves of history, philosophy, and theology, a sanctuary for learning in a world often turbulent. Byzantium was a world of contrasts and mysteries. Imagine walking through the bustling bazaars, where traders from distant lands arrive bearing silks, spices, and jewels. At the same time, secret councils convene behind closed doors, shaping policies in shadows. Political intrigue, religious disputes, and cultural exchanges weave a complex tapestry beneath the surface of daily life. As twilight descends on this exploration, imagine the city once again quieting, the mosaics catching the last rays of sun, the prayers drifting softly in chapel air. The mysteries of Byzantium are not only in grand events or famous figures but in the subtle details, the careful brushstroke on a fresco, the whispered chant of a monk, the secrets held in ancient stone. These are the echoes that linger, inviting us to listen, to imagine, and to rest in the steady, timeless rhythm of a world both distant and deeply human. Imagine yourself standing at a crossroads within the vast Byzantine Empire, where worlds of opulence and hardship, faith and ambition, tradition and change intertwine. Byzantium was not a single, uniform society, but rather a complex tapestry of different classes, professions, and lifestyles, each with its own rhythm, sights, and sounds. Let us now wander gently through the varied layers of Byzantine life, observing the contrasts between the elite and the common people, the powerful and the humble. Imagine stepping softly into the marble halls of the great palace of Constantinople. The floors beneath you gleam with polished stone, reflecting the flicker of ornate chandeliers. The air carries a faint trace of incense mingled with the delicate scent of jasmine from palace gardens beyond. Richly dressed courtiers move slowly through colonnaded corridors. Their silken robes rustle quietly, gold embroidery glints in the soft light. The emperor's chamber is a quiet sanctuary of power and ceremony. Imagine gilded thrones, fine tapestries depicting myth and history, and shelves lined with precious manuscripts. Here, political intrigue is a subtle dance. Advisors whisper strategies in hushed tones. Courtiers exchange measured glances. Decisions shaping the fate of empires are made with a calm deliberateness. The elite dined on delicacies sourced from across the empire, honeyed dates, spiced wine, tender lamb seasoned with exotic herbs. Imagine the gentle clink of silverware on porcelain, the muted murmur of conversation in many languages. Yet beneath this luxury lies the steady pulse of duty, ritual prayers, elaborate ceremonies, and constant vigilance. Now, imagine stepping out from the palace into the lively streets below. Here, life is shaped by toil and tradition. Fishermen haul nets from the calm waters of the Golden Horn. The faint salt scent of the sea mingles with the earthy aroma of freshly turned soil from nearby gardens. Farmers tend to plots outside the city walls, their hands rough and steady as they prune vines or gather olives. Women carry water from public fountains, their footsteps light but purposeful. Children play near open doorways, their laughter soft and carefree. Markets hum with activity, vendors call softly, offering figs, olives, spices, and pottery. The scent of roasting bread and herbs drifts gently through the air. Imagine the rhythmic pounding of a loom as women weave cloth at home, the soft clatter of wooden toys in the hands of children, the quiet prayers whispered before meals. Imagine the disciplined calm of the imperial guard, standing watch beneath imposing city walls. Their armor gleams softly in the morning light, the steady clink of chain mail and leather muffled by practiced ease. Soldiers train with slow precision, swinging swords, practicing formations, their breath steady and controlled. Their role is a constant balance between vigilance and routine, protecting the city from threats near and far. The distant drumbeat of a military march echoes faintly, a reminder of the empire's need to remain ever ready. Imagine the workshop of a silversmith, where delicate tools shape precious metals into fine jewelry. The air is tinged with the soft metallic scent of molten silver and the faint aroma of beeswax used for polishing. Nearby, merchants negotiate deals over bolts of silk imported from the Far East. Their voices are low and steady, words chosen with care. Trade routes stretch across land and sea, connecting Constantinople with distant realms. The city is a hub of commerce, a crossroads of cultures and goods. Every coin exchanged, every object crafted, contributes to the intricate web of daily life. Alongside prosperity lived hardship. Imagine narrow alleys shadowed by towering buildings, where the scent of damp stone and cooking fires lingers heavily. Some families struggle with scarcity, their homes small and crowded. Yet even here, community and faith offer solace. Churches and monasteries provide aid, food, shelter, and healing, weaving a network of care amid the challenges. The charity extended by the elite to the poor was part of a deeply rooted spiritual tradition, reflecting a belief in mercy and justice. Imagine the city during a festival, gentle music fills the air, mingling with the scent of sweetmeats and blooming flowers. Citizens gather in public squares to watch processions, lit by soft torchlight. The rhythm of celebration is slow and ceremonial, dances performed in measured steps, hymns sung in low voices, fireworks blooming quietly in the night sky. These moments bind the community, reinforcing shared identity and faith. As night falls once more over Constantinople, imagine the city settling into a quiet harmony of diverse lives. From palatial halls to humble workshops, from bustling markets to silent prayers, the varied rhythms of Byzantine society move together in a delicate balance. Each world has its own pace, its own texture, the gentle click of a merchant's scales, the soft rustle of silk, the muted prayers whispered in shadowed corners. In this, we find a rich tapestry woven from contrasts and connections, an empire alive in its complexity. And now, the domes of Constantinople have fallen quiet. The candles have burned low. The robes are folded away. The scrolls and treaties, the mosaics and relics, all tucked gently into the soft folds of memory. We have walked together through winding alleys and vast palace halls. We have listened to the murmur of monks and the scratch of scribes. We've stood beneath a dome that seems to float above the world. And felt the slow, careful rhythm of an empire that lived for over 1,000 years. The Byzantine Empire is gone now. Its palaces weathered, its language faded from common speech. But like so many things in history, it did not vanish. It simply became quiet. It lingers, in the chants of Orthodox liturgies echoing through Greek and Slavic churches. In the glint of gold mosaics in Ravenna or Mount Athos. In the word Byzantine itself, still used to describe complexity, intricacy, systems that twist and turn with careful deliberation. But beyond the complexity, was something very human. A yearning for order. For beauty. For the divine. And in that, Byzantium was not so different from any of us. It wrestled with chaos. It reached for light. It preserved what it loved, whether through art, prayer, law, or song. So as you rest now, as your thoughts drift gently like a ship across calm water, know that somewhere, far below the noise of the modern world, that same rhythm continues. A rhythm of bells, and domes, and slow, steady footsteps echoing down marble corridors. A rhythm of lives lived with devotion, sometimes glorious, sometimes simple, always full of meaning. You may forget the names, the dates, the battles and reforms. That's all right. But perhaps, you'll remember the feeling. The warmth of sunlight on old stone. The hush of a sacred space. The peace of a culture that once believed, with all its might, in the sacred beauty of continuity. So let your breath slow now. Let the flickering lamplight of Byzantium fade into soft darkness. And as sleep draws near, remember. Even the grandest empires, like the deepest dreams, eventually give way to silence. And in that silence, there is stillness. And in that stillness, peace. Good night.